Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosensia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms and MikeWagnerShow.com, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, and a lot more. Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia for great books like Missing, Once and Wrinkles, also T-shirts, pop sockets, phone cases, and a lot more. Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, as well as PayPal and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who is a PhD and a professor of emeritus at McGill University in Montreal in research in plant morphology in the development and evolution of plant form. And he published nearly 100 research papers and several books, including 3-time award-winning Oregon and Genesis of Flowers and Biophilosophy. So we'll talk more about that, and taught courses in biological plant, general and philosophy, history, and the human condition, especially the plants. And he's also has a new book that warns of the dangers of placing our faith solely on scientific proof, which is called the book Science and Beyond. We'll talk more about that. And practices laughing meditation. And of course, it's very interesting scientific truth and a lot more. And of course, beliefs have changed and everything else. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studio somewhere in Canada, the very multi-talented and author of Science and Beyond Towards Greater Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality, ladies and gentlemen, Rolf Sattler. Rolf, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mike, for inviting me.
Well, it's great to have you on board, too. So you're a PhD and professor of emeritus at McGill University in Montreal. You do your research in plant morphology, in development and evolution of plants, and also you published nearly 100 research papers and several books, including 3-time award-winning, Oregon Genesis of Flowers and biophilosophy. You taught courses in biological plants and general philosophy, history, and a lot more. And you have a new book that warns the dangers of placing faith and solely on the scientific proof. And you also practice laughing meditation. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about your book, Science and Beyond, the Towards Greater Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality. And before getting to all that, Rolf, tell us how you first got started.
Yes, well, I was very interested in writing this book because, as I just told you before, I've been very interested in controversy in science. And as a student, I studied at 5 different universities in Europe, in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. And what I did is I went from one professor to his opponent who had the opposite view. And that was a very interesting experience, because what I learned is that when I was the first one, it seemed all so evident, so clear-cut, so proven in a way. And when I went to his opponent, then it didn't seem so clear-cut anymore. And I could see the merits also of the opposite point of view. So that was a rather fundamental experience to me in my life, because I could see that science is not as clear-cut as it is often presented. In fact, when you have a closer look, you often can find contradictions, and having an awareness of these contradictions, that can lead to greater, better understanding. And also what I learned is that there are so many misconceptions about science. They are widespread in the general public, in governments, and also among many scientists. And these misconceptions may have grave, even disastrous consequences, as we could see it, for example, also during the COVID pandemic. So that was one reason why I wrote the book, to point out these misconceptions. In fact, I have 11 chapters in my book, and in each chapter I deal with one of these misconceptions and grave, sometimes catastrophic consequences. And what I wanted to show is that an awareness of these misconceptions can really have very beneficial effects, and can avoid harm, can harm and these disasters that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. It also says, too, in the last 100 years, we believe that the universe was static, and stress causes ulcer, and we only use 10% of our brains. All fats are bad for you. Smoking is safe. And now none of it is true. Or so you can just give us your take on that.
Yes. I mean, it may still be partially true to some extent, but it's certainly not proven, because that is one of the misconceptions I deal with in my book, that people, even many scientists, think that science, in contrast to art and to philosophy, that science can provide proof. And you hear it so often, right? Scientifically proven, scientifically proven.
You're hearing these ads, right? Yeah, especially in the COVID ads, scientifically proven.
Yes. But I mean, it's just not possible, because science is open-ended. So if we make an observation or an experiment today, we cannot know whether in the future, if we repeat the same experiment, we will get the same results. Right, because we just don't know the future. And it may give the same results, it may not. And there are many instances known where it gives different results. So proof is really not attainable in science. We have to live with uncertainty and with an openness. And if this is recognized, which unfortunately is often not the case, that can be very beneficial. Because if you think something is proven, well, this closes the door to further explorations. Why should you look elsewhere, right, if it's proven? But if you know that it remains uncertain, then you can look elsewhere and maybe find other evidence that confirms or disconfirms what you have found. And also, if you believe in proof, it leads to a dogmatic attitude, because you think you know the truth, right? And then people tend to become dogmatic and intolerant towards others who think differently. So I think this recognition that there can be no proof in science can have very beneficial effects for individuals and our society. And I just don't understand why this is such a widespread opinion still that science can provide proof. One nice example that I like to give, and I often give in my lectures to students, that shows how impossible it is to get proof, is the example of black swans. You know, in Europe, for a long time, they didn't know anything about the black swans in Australia. They saw only the white swans in Europe. And then they saw them again and again and again, hundreds, thousands of times. And so they came to the conclusion, well, it's proven all swans are white, right? We've never seen any swan that's not white, right? But then go to Australia, and then you find out that it's not true, right? So I think even if one has repeated an observation or repeated an experiment, oftentimes it always led to the same conclusion. We can never have absolute assurance that therefore it's proven, right? And so it just for me, it's just puzzling, and I don't understand why in our society this idea that something can be proven in science is still so widespread.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that the same science experiments have been going on for hundreds of years, and yet it comes out a different result. And I could see where you're coming from. And they think that, so much has changed, society's changed, but you're right that you conduct the same thing over and over again, or like, say, climate change, or like, say, certain cells and all that. It's like you're always getting different results.
I wouldn't say always, but often, yes, because some ideas have been really confirmed again and again. But as you say, very often also it led to different aspects and different ideas. And if one looks at the history of science, this is also very illuminating. Then one can see how much it has changed and how often it has changed, even when people thought we've come now to the final conclusion. And a nice example there is Max Planck, one of the founders of quantum physics, quantum theory. When he wanted to study physics, he was told by his professors, don't study physics. You are a very good violinist. Become a violinist, because in physics, we know almost everything now. There are only a few details to fill in. Everything else is known, and we have the answer. And then you know what happened. Then Max Planck really turned over, Newtonian physics, and developed with others quantum physics that was really an enormous breakthrough and changed the situation very much. So I think one has to be really very careful when one is told, well, this has been proven. That's the final word. There is no final word in science.
Right. Yeah. And of course, you also say, too, that few scientists are open to meditation, arts, and spirituality. And what would your number one goal to be to break all that down?
Well, I started my book from the scientific perspective. And if one understands science, then I think one can also see the limitations of science, because very often the limitations are not seen. In fact, many people think that science, if not today, sometime in the future, will give us the final truth, the truth with a capital T, absolute truth. But this is also not possible in science for a number of reasons. One reason is that science is interested in replication. We want to replicate results of experiments. And what is replicated are the generalities. So science is not interested in uniqueness. Science is not interested in why a certain flower or person or whatever is unique. Science is interested in what can be replicated, and what can be replicated is not unique by definition, right? So in other words, science omits the uniqueness. It omits the uniqueness of flowers, of persons, and so on. But reality consists not only of what can be replicated in generalities. Reality also includes the uniqueness. And therefore, since science doesn't deal with the uniqueness, it cannot capture everything. And the absolute truth, of course, that which is, contains everything. So you see, there is something missing in science because it cannot capture the uniqueness. And then there's still an even more profound reason why science cannot give us the absolute truth. It's because science uses language and logic. Logic also a form of language. And that is limiting. Language does not capture reality as it is. Language is like a map. It can be well compared with a map. And you know very well that a map, of course, shows us much of the territory, but not everything. If you have a map of California, I mean, it doesn't show you everything of California or a map.
Right, exactly. Unless you're too nutty to do that. So
yeah. So that means since science uses language and logic, there's a lot left out. And again, reality is not fully captured, and therefore it does not represent the whole truth. It represents aspects of the truth, but not the whole truth, not the absolute truth. And that to me is very important, because that if you can recognize that science represents only aspects of truth, then you can look for other aspects of truth elsewhere, and other aspects of truth we can find in philosophy, in the arts, and in spirituality.
And why is science limited to the aspects of the truth only? Why science?
How do you mean?
Yeah. Why is you talk about the aspects of the truth and everything, and then science limits it? Why would science limit? That's just kind of like, this interesting. I mean, I love hearing about the whole truth. Don't mistake me. So
yeah. I mean, it's just a limitation. I mean, we can make more and more progress in science, and we cannot know where this progress eventually will lead us. But as long as we do science, we will use language and logic, and that will limit us, our understanding. And therefore, there will always be a place also for philosophy, for the arts, and for spirituality. And of course, when we have a spiritual or an artistic experience, that reveals something that we cannot get in science. If you get deeply involved in meditation, or let's say in nature, and you feel like a oneness with nature, that's an experience that you cannot get the same way in science. Or if you listen to music that moves you very, very deeply, that's also an experience, I mean, that you don't have in science the same way. So yes, science reveals certain aspects of the truth, but then we need also these other aspects. And that was, of course, also one of my major concerns in writing this book, that we need these other aspects too. Because in our society, science has become I think one could say the dominant force. And many people just believe that's what we need, and that's the only thing we need. And I think we need more than that. We need also philosophy, the arts, and spirituality.
And that's a very good point. We'll talk about those in the book in just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, You'll love Missing by me and Molson Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by me and Molson Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by me and Molson Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 30 podcast platforms. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/me and Molson Zia for great books like Missing, Once and Wrinkles, and cool merchandise and more. Amazon.com/me and Molson Zia. Don't forget to support The Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, along with PayPal and themikewagnershow.com. Make sure you do so today. We're here with the author of the amazing book, Science and Beyond Towards Greater Society, or Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality, Rolf Sattler here on The Mike Wagner Show. Before we talk more about your book, like with, replicability, uniqueness, logic, language, and a lot more, especially empiricism, how'd you first get interested in plants and science? I forgot to ask you that, start off.
Oh, I actually wanted to do my PhD in animal behavior. Yes, and I took lectures with a very famous animal behaviorist, Konrad Lorenz, and I was not so impressed by him.
Really?
Yes, although he won the Nobel Prize. But I was very impressed by a botanist at the same university that was in Munich. And so it was really my supervisor that turned me towards botany. And then I did my PhD in plants, plant morphology, plant systematics.
Wow, that is amazing. What is your favorite plant?
Oh, I have so many. I couldn't single out.
You can pick a few. It's okay. You can pick a few. Or several. How many you like?
I like orchids, of course, very much.
They're beautiful. My wife loves them.
Yes, and I often visited the Alps, and in the Alps you have gentians, blue gentians that I like also a lot. So, but really, I mean, there are many flowers that I like.
Oh my gosh. And that is so beautiful as well, too. There's replicability, uniqueness, logic, and language. And it's all in a book. And one thing that really interests me is like replicability, uniqueness, and of course, logic and language. You cover that. But the one thing I like to have you talk about is empiricism and just sensing.
Yes, empiricism, that's very important because science is considered empirical. And what does that mean? It's based on facts, on empirical facts, right? And evidence. And many people think that's all that we can say about science. It's based on evidence, right? Mm-hmm. And that is definitely true. It's based on evidence. It's based on facts. But that's not all. Science is also based on power. On the power of influential scientists, of influential organizations, of influential communities. And that is often ignored. These influential people, they are often more interested in their own kinds of science than in other kinds of evidence that does not support their view. And actually, they often either ignore contradictory evidence or they suppress it. We can see this again during the pandemic. And we have there the official narrative, right? And then we have scientists, even Nobel laureates, who have a different view based also on evidence. And that is very much ignored. So this happens very often in science, and that is not recognized. So I don't want to say that power plays always a role, but I think very often plays a role, and sometimes a very important role. And so yeah, science is empirical, but science is also to a great extent based on power or reflects power. So a French historian and philosopher, Michel Foucault, coined the term power knowledge.
Power knowledge.
Power knowledge. So knowledge not based only on evidence, but also based on both evidence and power. That's very important, I think, to recognize.
And very important indeed, too, of course, besides with the logic, language, empiricism we talked about as well, too, uncertainty, replicability, and objectivity. There's also the mechanistic, materialistic science, holistic science, and beyond. Mechanics are also involved as well.
Yes. You know that our mainstream science is mechanistic and materialistic. In fact, mainstream scientists often think that's all there is to reality. It's all physical. It's also called physicalism. And that, again, is a very dominant view. And these mainstream scientists, they often suppress holistic views of science that comprise more than just matter, that also emphasize very much consciousness and other aspects. For example, we have parapsychological phenomena like telepathy, clairvoyance, and so on. This does not fit into a materialistic, mechanistic paradigm. So what these mainstream scientists often say is, well, these phenomena do not even occur because they cannot explain them well in their framework. But I think many people have such experiences. And furthermore, a lot of science has been done on these phenomena. And of course, it has not been proven because nothing can be proven in science, right? But still, there is a lot of evidence for these phenomena. And that does not fit very much into mainstream science. So I think holistic science is very much at the periphery. One example is medicine also. Mainstream medicine is still very much materialistic. I mean, if you see a doctor, he looks at your material body, right? And,
yeah.
And he doesn't ask you so much about, he doesn't ask you so much about your feelings, emotions, or your spiritual experiences or what have you, right? So but we have what's often called alternative medicine, that emphasizes more the holistic aspects and that emphasizes more the non-material aspects that can also be very important for healing. I mean, there are many, many stories, where people got healed through these alternative methods. Like acupuncture is something that doesn't fit very well in our mainstream thinking because the meridians, there's no anatomical basis for the meridians, the power lines that are central in acupuncture. And yet acupuncture works in many cases, not always, but conventional medicine doesn't always work, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there are all sorts of other alternative kinds of medicine, like energy medicine, like Reiki and homeopathy and what have you. And some of these also have been very helpful. The interesting thing is that, of course, they do not always work, right? And so mainstream scientists who are materialistic, mechanistic, they point out then these failures in alternative medicine. That's not difficult to do, but they are not willing to acknowledge the failures in conventional medicine. And how many failures are there? How many people die of cancer? Right? How many people die of COVID, and so on? So I mean, we need both, I think.
And of course, look at the medical schools as well, too, crank out the doctors. It's like, it's just like, go figure. It's like, where they've gone wrong? That's another question.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, and I think I have been very interested in the notion of complementarity. You see, very often we think in terms either or. either this is true or it's false, either this is good or this is bad. And when it comes to medicine, either conventional or alternative. I think, why not embrace both, and we can consider them complementary. They complement one another. And this is actually a notion that has been developed in quantum physics. In the 19th century, physicists were also very much still thinking in terms of either or. And so the debate was, is light either a wave phenomenon or a particle phenomenon? Either or, right? And then at the beginning of the 20th century, the quantum physicist Niels Bohr suggested it can be both. Depending on how you look at it, it manifests either particles or as waves. And then he introduced the complementarity principle in physics, so that we do not ask either or, but we say both and. It can be both, manifest both as particle and also as wave. And I think this should be also applied in biology. In biology, for example, in other sciences, we still find a lot of either or thinking. And of course, also in society in general, either or thinking.
Like a black or white mentality, right?
Black and white, yeah. And then, why not acknowledge that conventional medicine and alternative medicine are complementary approaches, so that we can acknowledge both conventional and alternative. But we are far from that, because alternative medicine is still not taken very seriously in the conventional field.
And of course, pharmaceuticals, you hear about the news, the money involved and everything else. And, just to sum it up just briefly as well, too. And how does science transform us, a person and beyond to create a deeper, much more happier, more fulfilling life? It's like, how can science transform all of us, especially with the human ego, to have a more deeper and fulfilling life? It's like, how can we accomplish this?
Well, first of all, I think if we recognize the misconceptions in science and how much they mislead us and lead into all sorts of misery, as we could see it also during the pandemic, this already can improve very much our lives and can lead to a healthier and saner life. But also, if we recognize the limitations of science and we recognize that there is a room for philosophy, for the arts and spirituality, that of course can lead to a more fulfilled, more deeply fulfilled and a more saner and a happier life. Because if you are just thinking in terms of logic, and you exclude your feelings, emotions, your spiritual experiences, and so on, this, in my opinion, cannot lead to the most fulfilled and happy life. So that was one of the intentions in writing my book, to point out that we need these other fields, and having all of that together can lead to a really more fulfilled life.
And of course, they always say laughter is the best medicine. We'll talk about that in the book. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with author Rolf Sattler of Science and Beyond, the Towards Greater Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality, after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing. Available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to the Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with author Rolf Sattler of Science and Beyond here on the Mike Wagner Show. He's a PhD professor of emeritus at McGill University in Montreal and research in plant morphology and more. And you also like to practice laughing meditations. They say laughter is the best medicine. And tell us about it. I'm sure we can all use some laughter, right?
Oh, yes, it's very good. But in our society, and especially in science, we tend to be often dead serious. Like at universities, there's not much room for laughter. And at the end of my career, I started laughing with my students at the end, especially during exam time, when everything was very tense and so on. I just burst out into laughter for no reason at all. And laughter can be very contagious. So we laughed for a few minutes or 5 minutes. And this was hilarious. The students felt so good afterwards. I felt so good. It created also a bond, when you laugh together. And once a colleague of mine was teaching next door, and he said, "Oh, what's going on here? Too loud, too much noise." I said, "Oh, well, we are just laughing." He said, "Oh, are you crazy? I mean, you're supposed to lecture, not to laugh, But then a few years later, when I saw him again, he said, "Rolf, we miss your laughter." So that's how it started, Mike. It started in my lectures. But then when I retired and I came to Kingston, I was associated with a yoga center, and I found out that there is something called laughter yoga. It was invented by a physician in India and his wife, who is a yoga teacher, and they just developed simple exercises that make us laugh. And so you meet and you laugh. You make these exercises, they laugh, and it's contagious. And this goes on for half an hour or an hour. And
oh wow!
And I gave many sessions, laughter yoga sessions here in Kingston at many different places for various groups, including hospitals, prisons, what have you. And most of the time, people could join in and laugh, and they felt so good afterwards. But occasionally, someone was not able to do it. And once I led a laughter session at the university here, and there was one professor in there, and I usually start the laughter sessions with gibberish, loosening up people, just making sounds like that's wild, just to loosen you up. This professor, he walked out in disgust.
That's simple like this, huh? Wow. I think every comedian should know that one.
and he missed a good session. And I mean, people feel so good afterwards. And, there is scientific evidence of how good this is for our health, because laughing increases the killer cells. So it boosts the immune system. Mm-hmm. Laughter reduces cortisol, which is in this way reduces tension and stress. And there's a whole long list of beneficial effects of laughter that have been shown scientifically. But of course, one doesn't necessarily need that, because just having the experience and laughing for half an hour shows us, even without science, very clearly how much better we feel. And one reason why I like to do these laughter sessions was not just for the people, but also for myself, because afterwards I felt so good. And unfortunately now, with the pandemic, where we would need it most, there's almost no demand anymore for laughter sessions. So
oh my gosh. You know what? You know something, Dr. Rolf, I'm going to call you doctor in this one. I'm feeling better already. Thank you. You know what? This also made me think of a story, too, about Patch Adams, that he used laughter at a children's hospital, I think in was it Virginia or West Virginia? And a study that's shown that the kids actually felt better, and I guess the demand for medicine actually dropped, and it actually showed that that some of the elements that just were eliminated or just minimized. And he said that with Patch Adams, laughter was the best medicine. He was great at it. And I watched that movie with Robin Williams. I absolutely recommend it to everybody. Patch Adams, that was terrific.
I knew him. I did a weekend retreat with Patch Adams. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I know him very well. Yeah. It's great what he did, I think. But I mean, laughter in any case is just wonderful. And I think we need more, because we have a lot of tension and we have a lot of stress in our society, and laughter can release a lot of that. And that's also one reason why I like jokes. In fact, I have jokes in my book. I have them in smaller print, but in each chapter I have one or two jokes, because I think academic writing, can also get too serious, and we should not forget, and also be able to laugh about our academic pursuits, and then this will be very helpful in many ways.
So one thing you can also do, and it's perfectly okay, laugh at yourselves. That's the most important thing. Yes, laugh at yourself. Yes, you make a mistake, laugh at yourself.
That's very important. In fact, one of the exercises in laughter yoga is laughing about yourself, and we do it like this, Look at this person, who did these stupid mistakes, but even if we mistake, we can still laugh about it, right? Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
Such a good point. Yeah, it's so good.
Oh my goodness. I think everybody needs to get this book. And where can we find your book at? Of course, it's definitely a laughing matter, but it's also really good. Where can we find your book at?
Well, it's available at practically all major outlets. You can get it at Amazon and also Barnes and Noble and so on. And it's available as a paperback and also as an ebook on various platforms, Kindle and so on. And the book, the paperback costs $16. The ebook only $1. So.
Wow. Okay. That's a really good bargain, too. So we'll check that out. We're here with author Rolf Sattler of Science and Beyond, Towards Greater Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more minutes, Rolf. I'd love to have you back on. Love to laugh with you in 2022. And speaking of that, what can we expect from you going into next year and beyond?
Sorry?
I'm sorry. What can we expect from you going into 2022 and beyond?
Well, at the moment, my book came out last summer, and at the moment, I really make some publicity for the book. I'm giving interviews like with you and others to make it known, that this book exists and that people who are interested in this sort of thing can get it. And I think it's a very timely book because at the moment, we can see really very much how these misconceptions that I deal with in the book make us limited and make us suffer and lead to all sorts of health problems, insanity, and what have you. So that's what I'm doing these days. Besides that, I also have a very comprehensive website on which I published actually 3 books, or 1 book and 2 book manuscripts, and many, many articles. So I'm also, I continue working on this website.
And you're certainly doing a great job as well, too, Ralph. I mean, you're totally amazing. And who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
Who influenced me the most in my career?
Yeah, who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are many influences. Some of my top professors, have influenced me very much. And I was very influenced by Alfred Korzybski, who wrote a book in 1933 called Science and Sanity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he pointed out the limitations of language, because he showed, that whenever we talk, we abstract, we select some features from reality, and so much is left out when we use language. Just think of a sunset. If you look at the sunset and you want to describe it through language, I mean, sure, you can say there was red and so on, and black clouds and whatever, but you cannot really represent the reality of that sunset. When you use language, there is much left out. And that's one thing I learned from Korzybski. And that's one reason why I dedicated my book to Korzybski. He died in 1950, I think.
Oh, wow.
But I think his influence has been enormous. And unfortunately, he is not so well known. But some of the slogans that he coined are well known. One of the best known one is, "The map is not the territory."
I love that one.
Yeah, and if you see that language is a sort of map, then of course language is not the territory. That means reality. It's just an abstraction from it. So that's one thing I learned from Korzybski. I dedicated my book to 4 other people. One of them, the Dalai Lama, for whom I have great respect, because I think he is one of the few spiritual leaders who has been and continues to be very interested in science.
Nice.
In fact, he had dialogues with scientists almost every year.
Wow.
So he was very interested in science. And he is a Buddhist, but in Buddhism, there are certain doctrines too. And he said that if scientific evidence contradicts Buddhist doctrines, then we have to change Buddhist doctrines.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yes.
That's a good point. And you know how long it took in Christianity until they could accept scientific evidence for evolution, right? For some people, there are even still problems today, right? They cannot accept the evidence. So that was one reason why I dedicated my book also to the Dalai Lama. And in fact, I was invited for his 60th birthday celebrations to give a talk, yes, and a talk on science and spirituality. So that's where I met him, and I really have this enormous appreciation for him, and because of his appreciation of science. But although he recognizes the great importance of science, he also, like me, recognizes that there is something beyond science too. And
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Beyond science too. So for this reason, I have great respect, admiration for the Dalai Lama, and I dedicated my book also to him.
Oh, that's so fantastic. I mean, that was just wonderful, Rob. That's wonderful. Love it. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, read my book.
Besides laughing.
No, in general, just be critical, and don't accept all the official narratives that are promulgated by powerful people, organizations, and so on. Have a closer look at it and listen also to people who have divergent views and look at their evidence. And because if you can look at all of that, that gives you a more comprehensive view, and that gives you a more deeply fulfilled life.
And certainly do so. You've done a great job with Rolf. I got to say that I'm still laughing about it. I feel better. Once again, author Rolf Sattler, PhD, professor of emeritus, McGill University, with his book, Science and Beyond, Towards Greater Sanity Through Science, Philosophy, Art, and Spirituality, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Rolf, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing, and looking forward to having you on in 2022 and beyond. Make sure you keep in touch, keep us up to date. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact, where can people purchase or check out your great book?
Thank you very much, Mike, for inviting me. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and it's always a special pleasure if someone can also laugh. So I think we had a great time. I had a great time. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, great. Your website, yes.
The website for my book is www.rolfsattler.com, rolfsattler.com, and there you find more details about my book.
That's certainly great. Once again, Rolf, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date, keep in touch, and we definitely wish you all the best. You've got a great future, and let's laugh again very soon.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, let's laugh. Let's not forget laugh. Thank you very much.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamosenzea.com. Missing. Available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.